Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid Pulse is still unable to join us today. He's now, I think, doing a full PC restore, but this is the second game of Reason Gaming versus Copenhagen Wolves DreamHack Bucharest 2013 tournament here. I do believe they are all at the live event, the players, although I myself am in my dressing gown. Regardless, Thresh and Corky have already been locked in by Copenhagen Wolves, and why not? That worked out extremely well for them last game. Reason Gaming have done some tactical bans and picks here. They have taken away the Renekton pick from Young Buck there, who is just incredibly good on that champion. Very wise decision, but it does mean they have left themselves open to counters. There are a few champions that can give Renekton a hard time, and there are a few more champions, I think, that can survive his initial onslaught and then kind of outscale him late game. We'll see if Copenhagen Wolves are able to take advantage of that, and if anyone should know how to play against Renekton, it's Copenhagen Wolves, who have a lot of experience with that champion. Regardless, the Zyra lock-in from Reason Gaming is nice because Bimbo 8 plays a really solid Zyra. I mean, it's just an incredibly powerful champion in his hands. But the thing is, it's not that common to see a Zyra mid, and, you know, fair play to them. They also play a very nice support Zyra, so it gives them options. It leaves their kind of... it prevents them from showing their hand too early. If they go for that Cassiopeia pick, that's probably a placeholder. We are running this on the live client, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably mention that because the tournament realm was bugged today. So not everyone has all of the champions. If someone doesn't have a champion that they want to pick, what the players do is they pick a placeholder champion they are not going to play. They tell the other team and hopefully the casters which champion this champion represents. So in this place they'll say like Cassiopeia represents Ari or something like that, although she's banned, but you know, they'd say something like that, and that would be their pick. When they got to the end of Champion Select, then they would just quit out, then they would remake the lobby, and I'd be very surprised if the Cassiopeia pick was genuinely what they want. She's not an awful champion by any means. It's just there are very few people with the skills to play her anymore, and it's not really worth it. She's kind of high risk, medium reward at the moment. Like, she's a really dangerous character if she gets off the ground, but she suffers in the current meta of really heavy assassins. She suffers in the meta of current aggressive ganking junglers, and like what you get out of the end of it is a very high DPS champion. But if she's focused out in team fights, it's almost like having a second AD carry. If she's focused out in team fights, it becomes very difficult for them to do anything. Regardless though, Copenhagen Wolves and Reason Gaming have got their full lineups locked in now. We have got that. It's actually a legitimate Cassiopeia pick. Ooh, the spice is right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm surprised. And I'll talk more about that when the game actually loads. But for now, we are in the delay timer, so ladies and gentlemen, we will just go into a quick commercial break. I'll see you after this, but I'm looking forward to this. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Reason Gaming versus Copenhagen Wolves, DreamHack Bucharest. You know the score right now. Worth noting though, Pulse has he came back online on Skype, which I think is a good sign. There is a possibility he could join me halfway through the game. If that happens, we'll try to make the transition as smooth as possible, and we will have a duo casting for you. But for now, it's just little old me, Unlimited, going to be moving around in this jungle area. Mozilla is also there. Coutard is going to have to play this a little bit carefully, but he's just slightly out of range of the flash stun from Mozilla. We'll throw back a shuriken. A little bit of damage for their troubles there on Reason Gaming. And they're kind of getting encircled a little bit right now. So, though, I do want to talk about this legitimate Cassiopeia pick. And moreover, a legitimate Cassiopeia pick, I do believe, into a Z lane. Which is really risky in my mind, because Zed excels at single target burst, assassinating squishy targets, and avoiding like difficult skill shots. Cassiopeia kind of, you know, ticks all of those boxes. Her ultimate is a very large skill shot if you're kind of an aggressive melee champ, but for instance, Deathmark's Shadow is behind Cassiopeia, so that's actually completely possible for Zed to juke out of the way of that petrifying gaze when she hits level 6. And even before then, he's going to be able to use those living shadows to avoid the Noxious Blasts, and that in turn is going to mean he's got the ability to avoid the follow-up Twin Fangs. So, nice to see Cassiopeia getting some air here, but I'm a little bit surprised to see it happen in this particular lane. Trying to put down some harass at the moment. One thing that is worth noting, her level 2 is incredibly strong. Actually, at the bot lane, I completely missed what happened there, but Nadi's took a ton of damage, as did Unlimited. It's going to be Health Pots versus Doran's Blade and Lifesteal Quints now for the sustain race. Will actually favour Copenhagen Wolves in the short term. Reason Gaming are going to take much longer to restore themselves to full. And you may see Copenhagen Wolves look to take advantage of that, get aggressive in this kind of gap period where Nardis is a little bit below full, whilst Unlimited is on very high health. They are going to be taking away that ward there. Reckless just getting that pickup and continuing to essentially lane as per normal. Death Sentence comes out and whiffs. Piltover hits Reckless, but nothing too much is really happening. Coutard taking a decent chunk of damage in that mid lane. But Bimbo 8 kind of running himself out of mana at the same time. Coutard is actually having quite a hard time at the moment. Maybe they were expecting a 2v1 swap up. Reckless going to be taking a bit of damage, gets rooted down. So, like, the overall strategy right now in kind of Reason Gaming camp is to run a very kind of defensive counter-engage style. They don't have much capacity to initiate fights. They've got, you know, Elise jumping in, they've got, you know, an ambush from Bimbo 8, and they, you know, they've got Renekton, but none of those are really hard engages. They haven't got, you know, like a Malphite. They haven't got that jump in, AoE knock up, and then follow-up kind of style. What they've got available to them, though, is really brutal counter-engage, because if Malphite does go in against Cassiopeia, he's going to eat that Petrifying Gaze if she wants to, and any follow-up characters are also going to eat a lot of damage from that. So that's super scary, plus they've got the Zyra Stranglethorns. It's just a really hard-to-fight team. The only problem I can foresee with that, though, is that the only kind of split-pushing pressure they've got is Youngbuck. I've seen Youngbuck play Renekton so much that Renekton is now called Youngbuck in my mind. Is Renekton in that top lane? So they'll have the split pushing pressure. Reckless is very low in this bot lane right now. He does not want to stay in there. They've been doing pretty good work. But their main kind of split push pressure, the only thing they can do to force their opponents to engage on them and utilize that really hard counter engage is Renekton, and that's going to be very dependent on him doing well in this early game. And even if he does, it's going to be difficult for him to stop Youngbuck from kind of just stonewalling him. He'll just build tons of armor, be really awkward, and Coutard in the mid lane is getting auto attack from the red buff. Does force the flash out of that. Nice gank there from Agent. Let's have that Elise jungle today, which is a very solid choice for getting aggressive early ganks down. And yeah, worth noting though, Coutard really taking a beating in this mid lane at the moment. 20 for 20 at the moment on CS. And Doran Shield regen doing a lot of work. But I feel that's more just because Bimbo is having a lot of trouble actually farming as Cassiopeia. This is one of her weaknesses in the early game, because all her spells are dots, and because her auto attack is decent, but not really anything special, it can actually be a little bit difficult to farm. At least that's my experience of playing the character. Reckless in the bottom lane does get rooted, but the Valkyrie is good and will get himself out. If there's no split pushing pressure though, Reason Gaming could get stuck in a situation where they are getting split pushed themselves. Zed and Malphite are both very capable of doing so. Reckless going to be taking a pelt over to the face, has been rooted in that bot lane. Lantern's about maybe an inch there. If they get into a situation where they are being split pushed by Young Buck, you know, builds that Sunfire cape, gets ahead of Renekton, just starts out trading him in a really long sort of fight, which does tend to happen with these matchups. Sometimes Renekton will get ahead of Malphite, he'll be able to very slowly grind down Malphite. Sometimes Malphite will get ahead and start to slowly grind Renekton. If you can get ahead in that situation, if they're getting split pushed back, they don't have much recourse. Their ability to pick one person off is solid enough because they've got Elise, but other than that they don't really have very much. Kazmich in the bot lane though is very, very low. Reckless taking a ton of damage in return and now trading auto attacks, Nadia's and Unlimited. Nicely played by both sides, getting the disengages. And I do believe that was a flash forced from Kazmich and nobody else. Elise is in though. Agent could get something done here. Human form, Cocoon forces the flash run Unlimited, which is doing something. Not quite the kill they were hoping for, I imagine, but they'll be okay. Trading support flash for support flash did require the presence, however, of Agent there. Regardless, though, Reckless is actually having a bit of a hard time in this lane. 49 CS for 49, which is completely equal on CS terms, but for Reckless, like, not to fanboy him or anything, but he's a really good farmer. And in fact, that has been a bait. Nardius is going to take a ton of damage. Dragon's Descent comes down. Kazmich is there, and he's actually going to be going under the tower. Shook, super aggressive, but he does not have the follow-up. Reckless going to be kind of just threatening this, and Shook coming around the backside here. Nardius does not have the net for one more second. One more auto attack would probably do it. Well, not enough. Kazmich will get himself out of there as well. Unlimited is there. Just going to be getting a plant for his troubles. Lantern out, which looks very, very silly on that dragon model. And Copenhagen Wolves taking probably a decent chunk out of this tower. I doubt they can actually take the tower fully, but regardless, very, very solid play there from them. Bimbo 8 still not having that much trouble though in this mid lane. I've got to say, he's playing this very, very well. Punishing melee champions early, I'd kind of forgotten, is one of the things Bimbo 8, Cassiopeia does really, really well. She's so brutal for anyone trying to just walk up to a minion and auto attack it, because if she can predict where you're going to go, she's going to land that Noxious Blast. She's then going to follow that up with a Twin Fang spam, and that gets really nasty really fast. Bimbo 8 has actually been spotted out there. Yeah, it's just going to be continuing to try and pressure this out. And actually, he's going to get engaged upon. Lands the Petrifying Gaze. Kautard now potentially the one in trouble and will be jumping out. Both ultimates used there. Slightly shorter cooldown there on Deathmark. But Bimbo 8 is the one in control, because without that Deathmark threat, that means he can get much more aggressive. If he's on full health, there is no way Kautard can take him down one-on-one. Whereas Cassiopeia is a sustained damage mage. If she's got that, she's always got the damage potential to kind of chunk you down, and it's really, really scary to deal with. She's actually farming up nicely as well. 66 CS is, you know, pretty solid. It's not flawless CSing, it's not Karthus tier, but it's good. It's really, really solid. And Cassiopeia has a lot of base damage built into her kit. She also scales extremely well with gold. And actually Elise is in the mid lane, has got that red buff, will be not landing any stuns. Can they pick up Kautard anyway though? Yes they can. Dots are the speciality, but counter engage coming in from Young Buck. Nice pick up there. Shyvana gets the double and is going to be in position to move straight onto the dragon. Dragon versus dragon, and I think I know which one's going to win. It's the one with the level 8. But Cassiopeia, unfortunately, is quite vulnerable to that kind of thing, where you get jumped on and get really, really suddenly bursted down, because she's a sustained damage mage. If she's not able to keep casting those spells, she's not going to put out that much damage overall. And unfortunately, in that event, she was just taken down very, very quickly indeed. Mozilla continuing to pressure against Young Buck, but he's not getting more than a very mild advantage at the moment in that lane. 87 CS to 61. It's actually pretty solid, actually. Fair play to him. So, eventually he'll get that Sunfire Cape as well, and that will give him a little bit of a leg up. Indeed, ideally, he's going to want to get that Sunfire Cape while Young Buck is still without his Sunfire Cape, because that's when it's kind of at its most influential, is when you are then able to just trade Unlimited, taking a lot of damage in the bot lane. Stranglethorns is down. Cocoon whiffs again. They're Reckless going to be chasing on. And Agent has got the repel, will land some damage, does get the ace in the hole, but it's not going to be enough. Reckless will just back away in the end. Mozilla, though, continuing to pressure the top lane. It's Malphite versus Renekton, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing much is going to happen here, unless a jungler were to gank. Shook, what are you doing here? Teleport coming in, actually, from Malphite. He's going to the bot lane. Shook is also going to be there. Okay, so that's a little bit interesting in that I'm not sure that's worth the teleport. He may have been hoping that Reason Gaming would not get out fast enough, but that's actually going to give them a lot of tower pressure now. Shook is still up top to clean out the farm and stop Renekton from taking that tower. It's a very neat little move. And in the mid lane, though, Bimbo 8 taking a lot of damage, will be getting the Petrifying Gaze. Deathmark is not enough. Triple Door and Seeker's Arm Guard keeping him alive just about. That's good. Reason Gaming are actually starting to get a little bit of a foothold in this game. They are the ones kind of forcing stuff down at the moment. Bimbo 8 in this mid lane is going to be able to do a bit of damage. And also worth noting, ladies and gentlemen, he has maxed out that Twin Fang, which is a very aggressive choice. It gives you the most single target DPS by a significant margin if you can get that done. But it gives you comparatively limited wave clear, and it gives you a comparatively lessened, and actually Zilla can take this top tower, I expect. I don't think Young Buck, attack speed slow or no, is going to be able to stop him. But it gives you some really, really solid single target damage, and that's what you need. You need to be able to out damage race Zed. That bot lane, Nardius is okay. No worries. He's just farming up. He may have taken a phosphorus bomb and a couple of missiles and some auto attacks. But he's fine. He's fine. He's got that sustain. There's not going to be a problem in the long term. They're just taking a bit of harass, but Nardius is just going to continue to pressure this down for now, and I think he may have just luck critted. Are you running? Yes! Nardius is running the 1% crit chance rune. Yes, what a baller. Regardless though, Reckless going to be taking a bit of harass here. Reason Gaming need to kind of make sure they don't lose this momentum though. As we saw last game, Copenhagen Wolves are brutal if you let them get a stranglehold on the game. And this game, they've had much less successful early game. Actually, Zed versus Bimbo 8 potentially, but neither side finds the other before the other has backed away, and that was a little bit scary, but neither of them had their ultimates anyway, so I imagine Kautar would have just backed away. And in fact, I think you can very successfully, if you're Agent in this situation, you can actually time your aggression based around when Deathmark is up. If you know Deathmark's up, you know that Zed is going to want to go all in, because you know he's not going to want to stay in that poke scenario. There's no reason for him to try and do that unless he's kind of forced to. So he's going to try and all in against Cassiopeia. If he does all in though and Elise is there, that's going to make his life very, very difficult, and I think that would be a wise decision. But Kautar is now getting far enough behind that perhaps he's not even going to consider doing so. Bimbo 8 is just brutalizing him in this lane, and Shyvana doesn't dare go for it, because one of the things about Cassiopeia, if you try and gank her, two aggressive melee champions jumping in, double Petrifying Gaze can quite regularly lead to you just killing them both and walking away. It's really, really scary once Cassiopeia gets a decent bit of farm, and they've kind of missed their opportunity to really shut her down. She's always going to be relevant now, regardless of what else happens in this game. But interesting, Shook is in this top lane now. Mozilla has forced Malphite out, and Nardius in the bot lane, can be putting down a bit of harass. Kazmich also doing the same. This is going to give them an angle to pressure this tower. Cassiopeia continuing to push around Kautar in the mid lane, but has actually taken a decent chunk of damage. That's going to force her to play much more cautiously. Deathmark is still up, and Unlimited throws out that hook to a plant, just leading the garden. Nadia's going to be continuing to try and pressure this bot lane, but at the moment the Corki wave clear is a bit too strong. They're having a lot of trouble actually getting this done. Cocoon comes out, Reckless is going to be looking to pressure this. Zed is coming down. I think Reason Gaming are aware of this. They've got the map awareness. Even though they didn't have any specific wards to spot him out, they know where he went roughly. They know when he went roughly. But that does force them away. Counter there, not going for the aggression. Probably wise, considering it was on the tower and it was Cassiopeia. But still not quite what he wants. Nadius is actually still in the spot lane. He's going to be farming that wave there. And Mozilla will be in the spot lane, continuing to kind of pressure away. So he's actually done well early on, which was kind of what I was thinking Reason Gaming would need in this game. But they do have to be aware that the longer this game goes on, the harder it's going to get to deal with that hard engage. Because yes, Reason Gaming have characters that are traditionally thought of as stronger scaling late game, but their team fight is very revolving around that counter engage, and they're going to have to contend with the Z split push. That's going to get really, really difficult for them, because even once she's got that Zhonya's, Cassiopeia is going to have difficulty if she's not already ahead and doesn't have a tower to retreat to in a one-on-one against him. In this case though, looking good for them at the moment. Reason Gaming will move on to that dragon. Okay, so got that pink ward down, going to be taking that out. The teleport is actually coming in from Malphite. It looks like they want to challenge us. Mozilla goes in. Dominus not been popped yet. Strangleforms is down. Unlimited gets bursted out. We now have Kazmich running for his life. Petrifying Gaze on 2. Zed going in on Bimbo 8. He does not have the counter engage with that ability now. And Nadius has had his attack speed slow. Mozilla continuing to put out damage with that Sunfire K, with that Dominus. Youngbuck goes down. Agent continuing to turn this around. But the Neurotoxin Reckless is going to be running for his life, and Shook will do much the same. Ace in the hole comes out, just a little bit of a chunk of damage, but that is a good fight from Reason Gaming. They come out on top, they win the fight overall, and they get the dragon. Plus, they should now be able to pressure down that bottom tower. Nadia's going to be going there, certainly. Mozilla and Agent heading towards that mid. They should be able to defend that tower okay. You've got to be a little bit careful. Mozilla is very, very tanky, but Reckless has got a decent chunk of damage at this point with that Phage, with that Sheen. But Nadia's taking that bot tower, or dancing around it. I don't know, he's kind of just circling on the spot. But will be able to take out that tower pretty quickly if he wants to. He's just going to sacrifice as many of the creeps to it as possible. Deny the enemy a little bit of extra farm. Although maybe it would be better for him to push really, really hard and just go straight for the tower. But regardless, he will be able to just walk out of there, and hopefully now Reason Gaming could get some pressure on this mid lane. They are going to be, just throwing out the Strangleforms there. Countside actually taking a decent chunk of damage, forced back a little bit. Elise continuing to appear in the places where she is needed. And Reason Gaming are kind of doing a slower version of what Copenhagen Wolves did last time. Death sentence there, very, very close. They are constantly on the move, and they are constantly pressuring towers. They're trying to make certain they always have the numbers advantage, and it sounds very, very simple when you explain it like that, but it involves all sorts of tiny maneuvers. You've got to always kind of, you're playing essentially a game of balancing seesaws across the entire map. So you're balancing multiple seesaws at once, and you've always got to make it so that the balance of power is never beyond a certain degree of difference between the two. So if your team is like only a little bit weaker in that area, they can hold it because of the tower advantage if they're on the defensive. If your team is a little bit weaker and you're getting aggressive, that's bad, you'll get engaged on. If your team is a little bit stronger though, you're essentially wasting your time because the enemy will then defend like that. So but if you get sufficient, like if you get significantly stronger, like if you're a lot stronger, if you got 2 men advantage, then you can start looking for dives, and tower advantage isn't going to be enough. Unlimited takes a ton of damage, weaving the matrix shot between everyone. Counter be also taking a decent chunk. Reason Gaming need to not get too over eager here. Strangleforms is down. Petrifying Gaze has not yet been used, I do believe. Youngbuck going very, very low. Counter in a lot of trouble. Mozilla getting aggressive. Dominus, Deathmark, And the rest of everything, Mozilla will not drop, and that's going to be another tower. Reckless is continuing to push this top lane. He will be able to take that tower down relatively quickly. Mozilla, Renekton, not Youngbuck, is pushing recalling, and will be able to get back to that top lane relatively quickly. But that's another windfall victory there for Reason Gaming, getting quite a decent advantage now between the two teams. Nardius would do well not to get caught right now. That would be very unfortunate, and the mere fact that he's not recalling is going to cost him a little bit of a time advantage. But you can expect to see him recall. You can expect to see him head to that bot lane. Actually, he's going to do it the other way around. He's going to bot lane, and then he's probably going to recall. But Copenhagen Wolves look like they want to start making things happen here. They are grouping up quite heavily. Zed is heading to that bot lane though, and if he sees that Nardius is there and he figures that there's no vision, he could do something really, really unpleasant to her in a corner. As it happens though, looks like he's just going to show his face, which is unusual for Shadow Ninja, but that's kind of the way he works. He's actually a very in-your-face champion. Ace in the hole comes out from Nardius, going to be putting down a little bit of damage. Kautard continuing to split push and split push and split push again. That will get his farm up, that will make him a big threat, but for now at least he's not ballsy enough to go for like mega dives. He's not going to go in, you know, one-on-one under the tower. He's not that scary yet, but another spin boy has got that rabbit on death count. Surprised he didn't go for the Zonias first actually, but that's just my 2 cents. Putting down a bit of damage on Kautard. Be very careful about this, but he's now got him low enough that I think he can just straight up fight him if he does go in with that deathmark. Actually getting the slowdown. Going to be chasing this up. Has got a lot of damage. Petrifying Gaze has not been used, and it does not need to be. Twin Fang picks that up. Now Youngbuck is in the area. This is a very awkward situation if you are Cassiopeia. He's going to be getting chased down, but this does also give his team an opportunity. They need to take advantage of this. You can see Reason Gaming grouping up in that mid lane, pushing really, really hard, but actually not going to go for that. They're going to go for Baron, but I think maybe they needed to make the call faster. They don't have the opportunity anymore. A little unfortunate there. They kind of dithered slightly. When you have your man like that in that situation, delaying the enemy, wasting their time essentially, that's really, really good if you can then take an objective in return, because any objective on the map pretty much short of maybe like a blue buff is going to be worth more than a single character. But as it happened in this case, Reason Gaming were not able to group up. They were not able to take a single objective off the back of that. But they'll be okay. That was only one death, and Youngbuck is now permanently poisoned for me, which is going to be greatly confusing. But regardless, that should be okay. Reckless getting a lot of farm this game, actually. Is Reckless, so it's kind of par for the course. And Caitlyn has got enough kills and enough assists to remain relevant regardless. But it's a worrying sign, because the late game Corki is actually probably inferior to the late game Caitlyn, but right now this is kind of where we're hitting his peak time for strength relative to other AD carries. So with this much gold, he's going to be a super big threat, and they have to be very careful. They will pick up the dragon, and I imagine that thanks to global objectives, yeah, Caitlyn is still ahead on gold. We're still in the Caitlyn doldrums. She's only got 2 items. When she's hit 3, she's going to start being really, really brutal. But it's at the moment, it's not quite, you know, where they want to be with Caitlyn. And so long as they don't get themselves engaged upon really, really badly, that won't be a problem. But they just got to bear that in mind. They've just got to bear in mind how much farm Reckless is getting right now, and they've got to bear in mind that they really don't want him to be that super, super big threat. And you know, if he then gets a couple of kills on top of everything else, that gets scary fast. But Reason Gaming find themselves a little bit on the back foot once again, getting outmaneuvered by Youngbuck going down to that bottom lane, and Reckless continuing to just solo push, and he's in the mid. He's just going spider form, putting out a little bit of harass on the creeps. The Reason Gaming's momentum seems to be slowing down at the moment. Small advantages kind of going Copenhagen Wolves' way, which isn't ideal for Reason Gaming. They want to be continuing to push, but the problem is if they push really, really hard and get caught out even slightly by Youngbuck, that will really, really hurt them hard because they are so vulnerable if Cassiopeia gets bursted out. That means they have to play a little bit cautiously right now, and they don't have the ward control right now to just walk brazenly into the enemy jungle. Mozilla can do it, Mozilla can face check stuff, but he's the only one on the team that can really afford to do so. Elise is decently tanky, but again, not something you really want to be risking. At the moment it looks like they're just trying to bait stuff out, but Copenhagen Wolves' map awareness thus far has been really, really solid. They've been doing a good job of keeping control of this. They're actually going to go for the Baron here, though. Copenhagen Wolves kind of have guessed, I think, here. They are going to be just shoving the ward over the wall, but Cassiopeia does clear Baron very, very quickly. They are going to back out, though. Reason Gaming have been caught a little bit. No, Agent taking a lot of damage. Unstoppable Force on the back line. We've got the flash out from Nardius, but Coutard is chasing him down. Deathmark with a lot of damage. Bimbo gets him, but now they have to run from Reckless, who's on the back line, putting out as much damage as he wants. So much damage. And what was possibly a good play there by Reason Gaming has backfired quite spectacularly. That is a 5 for 4 and a Baron there for Copenhagen Wolves, which is going to change the goal difference from about 4,000 in the favour of Reason Gaming to probably about 1,000 gold in the favour of Copenhagen Wolves. Plus the fact that now they're going to have that Baron buff. Now they know they're ahead. They know they don't have to worry so much if they get caught in an equal fight. And they know they have the split pushing potential, and he's banging on about it, but Zed is such a brutal character if you're ahead. He just continually shoves a lane, and anyone you send to stop him gets murdered. As it happens though right now, Copenhagen will take away that tower. We'll just give them that little bit of gold advantage further, give them that little bit of extra map control. But I'm a little bit surprised right now that Unlimited hasn't decided to go and take away, get some map control. Zillow is actually trying to stop everyone from recalling. We'll buy them a little bit of time. Nardius is shoving out that top lane, so that's nice little blitz of play to kind of slow down the onslaught. But they're not doing quite what they want to be right now. Reason Gaming did just lose a huge amount of momentum, but they can't allow themselves to get completely back on their heels. They've got to keep these lanes pushed down, because if they get forced back into their base, as you would kind of expect from them in this situation, then they're just going to suffer so badly because they don't have much response to the Z split push. If they can get, baits, if they can get catches, that will be really, really good for them. They can still definitely win this game, but they've got to be careful. And right now, Reason Gaming, their calls have been just like a slightly, tiny bit off from my observer perspective. And of course, it's always so much easier to make, to criticize calls from an observer perspective. But the ability to kind of keep that holistic awareness of what's going on across the entire battlefield is really, really important in these kinds of games. If you are able to keep track of where everyone is and what they could be doing and what they most likely are doing, which is what Copenhagen Wolves did there at that Baron, it gives you such a big advantage. I don't have to bother with the keeping track of things, I can just see. But, if you have flawless map awareness, it gives you so many options. And Copenhagen Wolves take advantage of that extremely well. It's not just their mechanics that make them a really good team. Reason Gaming, though, still in this, as I mentioned. But I've got to say, their calls have been just that teensy bit off, maybe. Maybe? I don't know. Who am I to judge? But regardless, Bimbo 8 going to this top lane now, going to be forced to respond to Coutard. Nobody, not going to be able to stop him. He's going to probably, actually they are going to take that tower. But regardless, it feels at the moment like Reason Gaming are now definitely back on their heels. Elise in this bot lane, going to be throwing out a little bit of damage, smiting away that cannon creep, but they're being forced to commit 2 people to stop 1. They're being forced now to get into a 4-on-2 situation. They won't go for the dive. Dominus popped. Zilla may want to get aggressive, but actually, no. It does look like Coutard will take that top tower as well. The split pushing pressure, man. So, you know what else? You know what it is? It's the split pushing scene. But regardless, Kazmich going to be in this mid lane. Quite a risky place to be, Kazmich. I've got to be honest here. That felt to me for Kazmich there like a very strange play to make. He threw some seeds over the wall because he suspected Coutard was there. But if that's the case, why wouldn't Coutard just kill him? Regardless, though, Coutard is going to kill him. He is going to take a ton of damage. Mozilla also going very, very low. Reckless will pick him up very nicely indeed. People getting deleted all across the map. Nardius goes down. Bibboy gets the petrifying gaze off, but he's just getting chased down. Reckless gets taken down. And a triple kill to Reckless. Another inner tower now going down to Copenhagen Wolves. Reason Gaming feel like they've definitely lost the control of the game. They've definitely lost the momentum. They're going to lose an inhib from this at the least. We may even lose a Nexus tower, if I had to guess. Or possibly another inhib tower. We'll see what Copenhagen Wolves choose to go for. But it's not looking good for them at the moment. They are in fact going to go for a Nexus tower. Kazmich is up. And I just punched my microphone. You gotta take the tower. They're actually going to go for the second one here, and well, they can get it, so why not? They're going to just walk away from this. Nardius can't really chase him down, doesn't really have any CC, or rather he does, but it shoots him backwards, which isn't particularly conducive to chasing them down. So they are going to try and stop him recalling. They are going to try and pin down someone, but I don't think Reason Gaming are going to catch up here, and that just means they're going to be trapped in the same situation they were before, but now they also have to contend with the super creeps. Now they also have to contend with the 10k gold difference. They did well to come, you know, to this far, but now they are back on their heels. Their sole kind of hope right now is that Caitlyn is going to start scaling up nastily. Nardius actually finds Shook in the jungle, but pretty tanky. Burnout speed boost will get him away if he wants to. Actually tried to kind of turn around and go back. What are you doing, Shook? I have no idea what Shook's thought was there. Maybe he was just enjoying being tickled or something. But regardless, Renekton in the bot lane is actually going to get aggressed upon by Coutard. He cannot fight him one-on-one. Deathmark pop forces the flash out. Blade of the Ruined King. Mozilla going very low. Will survive the onslaught, but he can't fight Zed one-on-one as a bruiser. That's not good. Coutard may have overcommitted here. Bimbo 8 going to be trying to catch this up. Agent does have the movement speed, does get that off, but Cocoon unfortunately hits a creep wave. Reason Gaming forced to go back into their base once again. Reckless, not forced to, but he seems to enjoy it, is going to go back to that top lane and continue farming out indefinitely here. 342 CS is pretty solid, pretty solid. We've got 50 seconds on the Baron, which should pop up fairly shortly. Yeah, this is not looking brilliant right now for Reason Gaming. Do I want to say they're completely out of it? No. But it's not looking good for them. Really, really not looking good for them right now. But as I mentioned, their sole remaining hope is essentially that Caitlyn will get to kind of peak Caitlyn status. When she gets, you know, 3-4 damage items, Caitlyn starts to get really scary. Unfortunately, though, she is going to have to contend with being dived by potentially up to 3 enemy characters at once. Although they do have 2 threats to dive in this case, because Cassiopeia is almost equivalent in damage to Caitlyn. It's, yeah, not ideal if you are having to deal with that. And actually the 3-man Baron is going on right now. Reason Gaming need to respond to this. If this goes, they are almost certainly out of it. Young Buck is there to try and harass them away, and it does actually look like they're just going to turn it around. Reckless is there. Shook dives right into the middle of them. Nice ultimate on 3 by Young Buck. He's going to be putting down damage. He's too tanky to kill. Kazmich is trying to kite this out. He's not going to do it. Nardius isn't going to do it either. He's going to go nastily into the floor, 6 feet under. Mozilla going to be running away now, and it's just going to kind of recoil in their face and laugh a bit. Meanwhile, Coutard dies, as does Bimbo 8. Falling apart has a nice little bit of statue. The GG well plays are coming out from Reason Gaming, and we have the surrender vote coming in. Nexus was exposed. It was going to be picked up by Copenhagen Wolves. So, Copenhagen Wolves showing in over 2 games there, essentially, firstly, how a better team can snowball an advantage, and also, the second game, kind of how a better team can come back from a slightly dodgy early game there. I mean, props to Reason Gaming. They're a lovely bunch of guys, and they played pretty darn well, all things considered. But in the end, the better team kind of outed there, and Copenhagen Wolves showing why they have now, I think, won, what, 6 EUS Challenger Series in a row, including against an XLCS team now. So